All right. Stop, drop, and listen.
What's that?
My name is Mark Rodriguez. Across the table is Darryl Blalock, and there is a lot going on in the world.
Indeed it is.
We're going to talk about it.
And here we are.
Yeah. So I'll throw it over to you, man. What's what are we, June 25th, 6th?
Man, I ain't working, so I don't know what
Hold on a
is.
second. Yeah, 25th, June 25th, 2020. What's that looking like for Darryl Blalock?
Oh, man, pitching this show, writing, still working through all this madness in the world. I mean, I don't want to say getting back to normal, but I guess adjusting to this new normal of the times of now, and really being able, okay, I still got the best way I can help my community and my family is to be focused and stay focused on my projects and to still be creative, but also not let up on my me posting on my Instagram, having these conversations, these tough conversations, keeping my ear to the street, also being staying aware of what's going on in current events as far as Black Lives Matter, this election.
Yeah.
And everything in between. So
yeah, and it's in with all of this information, there's new information coming out about a lot of different things and a lot of past I guess just events that have happened and that maybe had got brushed under the rug and that we haven't really talked about. So I think with a movement like this, with people that are that haven't gotten the justice they deserved or have been overlooked, I think it's a really great thing that we're starting to look back on that stuff, and more headlines are making the news from years ago, because now we can based on where we are as a country and where our minds are, and a lot of people are more aware about different things or think differently. Let's go back and revisit those things and get that powerful movement behind it. No,
I love that. I mean, it's crazy. It's almost like I guess we're trying to right these wrongs. So if you think about a lot of these past cases, and it's crazy because a lot of these cases is they're starting to come out the woodworks now, like a couple of days ago with the Elijah McClain. Why does I say his name? Because I don't want to get his name wrong. But Elijah McClain. And, he was a 23-year-old kid who literally just walking home with a ski mask on because he's anemic. And his crazy thing is that
Colorado, right, in the cold.
Yeah. And so somebody called the 911 on him because he looked suspicious because he had a ski mask on in Colorado in the fucking wintertime. I'm sure everybody has on ski masks.
And I believe just walking down the street, it wasn't like doing any.
He wasn't looking at the cars. He wasn't peeping at people's windows. All he was doing was walking home. And then, so when they tried to stop him, and they try to, he knew his rights, right? And so they try to stop him. And you could literally see his spirit. Please leave me alone. I'm going home. Leave me alone. You can tell when somebody is, different.
Yeah, that's how he described himself too, right? He said, at one point, I believe he said, I'm different. I'm just different. That's all.
I'm introverted. Yeah. I'm harmless. I like to do this. I like to do that.
I don't even hurt flies, and like just trying to.
Yeah, just even the conversation that even once they started assaulting him. Yeah. It was like, wow, you guys are strong. I'm sorry, man. I promise. Like, come on, man.
And even like, when the cops came up, so I watched the whole video, I think it was probably 2 days ago now. And even when they first kind of came up on him and grabbed him by the shoulders, you could see him. Did you watch the video? Yeah. So it was, and I, of course, I almost wish I didn't know the outcome as I was watching it so I could experience it as that. But knowing the outcome and knowing what was about to happen, it was extremely clear to me that, number one, he was different, and he was, but he wasn't a threat. It was clear to me that he wasn't a threat.
And that's all that mattered at the end of the day. Yeah, he wasn't a threat.
And it makes me want, every time I watch one of these videos, I always want somebody to say, like, obviously watching in hindsight, one of these police officers to say, like, hey, everybody fucking stop for a second. Let's all just sit down on the curb together and just have a conversation. You know what I mean? And I think that's things that could actually happen when you have people that aren't just police officers with weapons. When you have somebody that comes up on them that doesn't have a weapon, that is just, talking to them as a human, I believe is going to save a lot of lives. I don't think it's that easy.
Of course not.
Because you never, it's putting yourself in harm's way. You don't know if somebody's dangerous or not. You never know.
Right.
But yeah.
But that's where, again, we have police officers who are not trained properly in the realm of mental health.
Oh yeah.
And they are not well versed in it. They can't identify behaviors, personality types. And I believe that these are the things that, like in San Francisco, with the thing that they're doing now, how they're having, how they're going to have trained mental health professionals to go to to respond to nonviolent calls. Right. And so just think if you had someone there who's trained to de-escalate, who's trained to recognize behavioral patterns and disorders, or mental health risk type, not patients, but people or whoever's being called upon,
Right.
So if you have those type of people in place, how many escalations you have far as people being hurt, because Elijah, we both agree that kid did not deserve it. And then the part which got me was, so at what point are you lawfully or legally able to administer ketamine, or what is it? Kerosene? I think
it was ketamine.
Ketamine? Whatever that is, that substance is, but to be able to put that in somebody else's body with no doctor around, because it's a sedative, or
because the whole time they were saying they thought he was on drugs.
Right.
That never was the case. Was that the case?
No, that kid didn't do no drugs.
Right. No, because I think by the way he was but he was throwing up and whatnot. Is that? Yeah. I'm not sure what the symptoms are.
No. They said he was throwing up.
Yeah. So he's throwing up. So there's whatever he's on is making him super strong. It's no, he's fighting for his life, and it's when you get those kind of super strengths to be able to do that.
Some people throw up when they're nauseous, or they're nauseous because of their anxiety or even being nervous.
For sure. Yeah. But they just literally just stayed on him.
Yeah.
Until it was too late, and I think.
It's fucking sad, man.
Yeah, but it was very sad to watch. It was, the video that I watched had the different views. I know one of the cops' cameras fell off at one point. I think they both fell off and eventually got it. And, but a lot of it, there was a lot of different just things that happened throughout. I think one time one of the other cops was like, make sure he's breathing. He's breathing. Okay. Right. Make sure he's breathing. So there was some people that were coming in and kind of helping. But even not necessarily just to keep him laying down.
If I'm not mistaken, one of the cops was like, "I'm in the view of your camera or your."
Yeah, he said something so I had heard about that before too, and I think if he said move your camera or something like that.
Yeah, something of that nature. I'm not really
and then
sure what he said.
The other police officer said something I think he turns it off or something because he said that when it fell, it got cracked and it was recording, but it was busted, so he just took it off or whatever. But I think we had every angle we really needed to be able to see what's going on, because you were able to see exactly what was happening. We could hear him the whole time. Even one of the camera angles, the majority of the time was just looking straight up. We couldn't see anything, but you could hear him pleading and talking to them.
You can't sit here and tell me, man, that you didn't hear that tape. I got goosebumps right now, man. Just thinking about what I heard. Today was the first day I actually listened to it. I didn't want to listen to that tape because based off the kid that I saw on the videos of him and hearing what happened, and I even read a little bit of the script of what was said. Then me finally watching it today, bruh, that shit was hard. That shit made me sick in my stomach. Just hearing. Cause I remember pleading for not to get an ass whooping, what I'm saying? And that was enough for me. So, pleading not to die or pleading not to be hurt.
Yeah. And knowing that that's a possibility now. And listen, a lot of people want to say this doesn't happen all the time. And it does happen to white people too. And this and that. And it just doesn't make the news because it's not as hot of a subject that's actually going to spread like wildfire. I watched one video that it showed a few times that it has happened to white people, but one of which I think it was 4 total, but I did see one of them before that. It's that's where when people say all lives matter and all that kind of stuff too, it's like, then why aren't you caring right now?
Right.
If you're saying it happens to white people too, okay, great. Let's fight for, like, against all police brutality.
Right.
But right now, the police brutality that we're seeing is happening primarily to
Right.
black individuals. And by seeing this kind of stuff, it's gonna really, I think,
Right.
does it heighten it? So say you get pulled over, are your senses heightened, or is your anxiety heightened when you do see this stuff because it makes it more and more realistic, or were you already like maxed out on the stress level?
I don't get any more nervous than I've already gotten.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, to be honest, I remember. So when I drive my old school, I'm in my old school today, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I probably get 20 people talk to me every time I'm driving in my car on any given day, right?
Yeah. Police
Really don't bother me in this car, but yet and still, I'm looking back at police 500 feet behind me, seeing what they're gonna do.
Right.
And the police that's at the corner, is he gonna wait till I pass by and he's gonna stop what he's doing and change direction and come follow me, or the one that just passed me, is he gonna double back and do a U-turn? So that fear that I have had that same fear since I started driving at 14, 15 years old. You hear me? So that thing has not gone away, nor has it dissipated. It's been maxed out, and it probably will be maxed out until there has been definite reform.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, coming from my point of view, when I get pulled over, my stress level goes to a certain point, whether it's, just shit, I don't want something, I don't know, maybe if it's a ticket that I can't afford,
Right.
or something like that. It's never because like they're about to fucking kill me right now though.
Right.
So I think seeing stuff like this makes it to a point where you think you can't win already.
Right.
But then the fact that you might lose your life, you have
Right.
that stress level. And I think
Yeah.
in younger black kids that are growing up learning this stuff is just going to make it that much worse.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like you have to be informed about this to know that it's out there.
But it's nothing new. I mean, I can remember driving I remember being, driving 15, 16 years old, getting pulled over. And I mean, it was always a fear that anything could happen. So that, I mean, I think it's honestly, I just think it's generationally. Like,
Yeah.
And the thing about that is also, that's just not to, to beat a dead horse, but I mean, the original policemen back in, Reconstruction, or even not even Reconstruction, during slavery times, they were used to, when slaves would run away, they used them to go find the slave, to go get the slave.
Wait, break that down to me.
So a lot of the slave catchers, if you look on some emblems of the police force, you would see them being foremen. They have the foreman where they have a whip on a horse.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of them was foremen. Like they used the same police that supposed to protect and serve, which they probably did the white population at that time. They also were used to retrieve slaves.
Right.
So I mean,
so you're saying generational, even on police standpoint.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've never had a good relationship with the police. Like even after Reconstruction, like who you think they were? I mean, so what? We're citizens now. They still wasn't protecting us. They didn't protect us in Tulsa.
Right.
The same police that supposed to protect and serve all people was the ones who was used to ring up off of hearsay, whichever white woman whichever Karen at that time who decided to say, this black man, that little black boy eyeballed me. Oh, he was looking at me. Oh, he touched me. Oh, then he raped me. And then they wasn't protecting the serve. They wasn't doing due diligence and due process. So we've never had a good relationship with the police. And that's historically over from 1697, whenever the first slave got out here, to now. So that is the fact. So it's just like saying, now that they're saying, like, far as COVID-19, that they need like the vaccine isn't going to work unless they have black people, and black people like, I ain't taking no motherfucking vaccine. And people don't understand why. Well, why wouldn't you do it? If it's going to save your life, then why won't you use it? Like, my God, use common sense. Well, then it's like, well, if you think all the way back to slavery times, where doctors who were gynecologists would literally take women, black slave women, and he would perform these surgeries or these investigations or these trials on their reproductive systems, and he wouldn't even administer anesthesia for them to go under, because black women they're tough. They don't need it. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, then you think about the Tuskegee Airmen or the Tuskegee Project, where black men were you pretty much being guinea pigs for not investigation, but for trials of for different vaccines and medicines, or whatever.
Yeah, I remember one specific one was about like following a group of black men around with syphilis.
Yeah. So I mean,
I don't know if
it's that one. It's so
but
many of them, but
yeah, the fact, and they didn't treat them, and then let them. Some of them died. Some of them passed it on to their partners and whatnot. So it was like not treating them and making them better. Let's just watch and see what happens.
I mean, so it's like we've essentially been treated like we're guinea pigs, monkeys, etc. So, like, we don't have a good relationship with the police, nor do we have a good relationship with the medicine. Even now, in hospitals, black women die at disproportionate rates compared to their white counterparts. And that's because, and I saw a meme the other day where a woman was literally crying because she kept telling the nurses that her baby is flatlined, or his heartbeat is low, and this was going on for an hour. Then the baby finally flatlined, and then it took them too damn long to respond to the alarm and to respond to helping that child. And so another cry of ours, we don't have enough black doctors, you know what I'm saying, and nurses, and to help care for us, because I mean, so to make the point, we don't feel safe in none of that. So
it feels like fool me once.
Right.
You know?
So you think you gonna get me to go get that vaccine? Oh, so we
know how this turns out.
Right. I've seen this book before. I mean, I've seen this story. I've heard the story before. I've seen this before. Like, no. So bruh.
So yeah, challenging times.
Yeah.
I think across the board, but we're talking about it. We're having these conversations. We're spreading knowledge. That's one thing, you and I have been talking about. If we wanted to do this, every week, every other week, and I know we talk about this every time. We make sure this is good.
Right.
But the reason why I was like, yo, let's go again this week, because what I found myself transitioning into my new normal while simultaneously being less vocal about things.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of stuff, like I'm still paying attention, getting really busy, like work and stuff like that. So I'm not as engaged in on my phone and seeing everything that's going on. But every time I see something, even on Instagram, whatever, I'll save it to like our stop, drop, and listen folder to ensure that we can bring it up, or I can beforehand view these things, but also so we can have this conversation, so I can make sure I throw myself back into it, holding myself accountable to make sure that we have this conversation, so I can stay up to the times.
Right.
And so that's one of the big reasons why I was like, yo, that I felt myself slipping. And I want to make sure, even though I feel in my life in the way that my, core group looks and acts and all that, like, no, it's a very diverse group of people. And like so I feel so great about, everybody that's around me. And so it's almost like, it goes back to living in a bubble out here.
Yeah.
Is that we like things in my circle, and for the people in my circle seem like they're really great. Yeah. Of course, we want to have these conversations to make sure they are doing right. And are doing well. But so my diverse group of people around me, and we're all working every day, talking every day. Everybody's energetic. We talk about stuff like this, but we're working towards something bigger. But I want to make sure that, every once in a while we pop the bubble and go and see what else is going on, what else needs to be fixed. Because I think that's one thing you had said at the beginning of this was that, one of the best things for you to do is to focus on your art, focus on your work, so that you can finish that stuff and put that out into the world.
Right.
We're at this time, in the entertainment industry where, because of COVID and everybody being during this pandemic being on lockdown, is they've been focused in watching everything on Netflix, everything on Amazon, etc. Yeah. And now they need more content, more diverse content.
Yeah.
stuff that we've been creating from
Right.
the get. Like that's always been a part of our pitches. Is always, you know, it's a diverse cast, and not because diversity's hot, but not because that we're not, you know what I mean? And I hate that. And it's weird. I feel good about the fact that it's hot because it needed to
You go in
happen.
that direction.
But for these streaming companies, whatever, if they were picking something just because we have to check that box and say we're doing it, I feel like that time is slowly becoming over because I think we're getting that overcorrection right now.
Yeah.
So everything that we've been working on, it feels like it's the right time for it. But it's like we've been doing this,
Right.
and it should have been like this before.
Yeah.
And we've been making these strides to eventually get to a higher position to be able to tell even bigger, better stories and positively impact the masses.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that about you know, us doing art and whatnot. But is that what you've been seeing too, or like you know,
Well, I mean,
are you getting more meetings now because of any of this, or what does it feel like to you? Did you feel like you were getting less before? Like throw me into that world.
I don't think right now I still don't feel like I think that will be that's still to be determined. I think right now it's still kind of like status quo, but I will say that I guess we have this conversation. I guess the main thing right now, me and my friends be talking about. So now you hear us. Like, why you hear us then? Like I've been watching these, and I love Netflix, and I love a lot of Amazon, a lot of the streaming services, because I feel like they give a lot of us, a lot of people of color, which I got a weird relationship with that word.
Recently I've changed it to
just
what it is.
Asian, man. If you black, but call me black. Don't call me no POC.
Right.
But I see I see productions, right, and I see forced assertions. Like I see forced putting people in certain positions just because I got my Asian, or I got my Southeastern Asian, or I got my black. Oh, I got my Mexican, or I got my Latino, or I got my Dominican. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, just to meet the quota, where to me, I feel like, okay, this really doesn't work. And it's not to say that they're not capable actors, but it doesn't feel authentic. Whereas you actually, you're actually doing stories like, okay, I would much rather you do a all Asian story instead of just forcing an Asian character in a show that might not fit. Does that make sense to you?
Sure, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I guess it depends.
Yeah, I mean,
I see what you mean.
And it's subjective. Like, I mean, I'm like, well, who am I to say that character don't fit? You know?
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, sometimes I watch things when I feel like, okay, did you really have to make him this?
Yeah.
Did you really have to make him that? Or, you know what I'm saying? So,
especially when it's just one.
That's what I'm saying. It's one.
When it's just one character out of the group that's just always, you know what I mean? That feels...
Like when I'm watching the show and I see one Asian, one white, one black, one. I feel like you checking boxes where, you know, I would much rather you tell that Latino's family story, you know, tell that black family story, or tell that, you know.
I think that the hard thing for me is like, how do you differentiate that from, we put it out and these were the best ones that got, like even so with a film that we're doing now, you know, initially we actually wrote it a certain way and gave everybody what we wanted each character to be.
Right.
But not because that's what we wanted each character to be, but because in the end you saw that it mattered that
what
they were that. Yeah.
Okay. See,
but we've recently taken all that out and then because it made an impact somewhat, but at the same time, I think there was enough into it where it was like, okay, I believe the latest draft doesn't have anything in there.
That's interesting.
And it's literally like it's like, how do I picture, these characters have changed how I picture them. Sometimes depending on whoever we're thinking about casting, whoever we're reaching out to, whatever talent, it's like, oh, she would be dope for this, but it's been a Latina, been a black girl, been a white girl sometimes, and it's a weird thing to deal with or to try to understand. I think it's like, how do we what's the best way to go about that?
I don't know. And again, this is subjective, I think. I mean, each filmmaker, each creative can do what they will with their own project. You know, I think for me, as long as it comes from a place of truth, and it's authentic, if it don't feel forced, okay, maybe it's like, so you might put an ethnically ambiguous, or you might just put, okay, you leave it blank and you audition every color you want. But if the black girl actually was the best and she killed it, then I will feel better if it was like that.
Yeah.
But it almost feels like, but the characters and stuff that I'm seeing, it's almost like, it's just like, okay, we got that. Okay, check it. You know?
Yeah. Because I think it's important to say, let's see everybody, or let's see a diverse group of people. Yeah. Doesn't have to be for every role.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't, or specific for every role,
yeah.
But being diverse across the board. But then let's book the best performance. Let's book the best chemistry. Let's pay attention to that.
Right. And so and what does that look like? Because I'm sure.
But what if that looks all white though? At the end of the day, I guess it depends on who's casting at that point. It's like, and then the vision.
But you get it, because acting is subjective. Like this whole thing we do is subjective. So I guess it should rest. The discretion should come down to, or the autonomy should come down to. Of course, it's going to come down to the producer or
director,
and writers and everybody. You know, along with the casting director. But I mean, if it comes off as, you know, a black girl and a white man were the best or had the most chemistry in that, then let's go with that. Mm-hmm. And let's see what that looks like. Let's see if that does work.
Because the writer might have even wrote the backstory and whether her family or his family or whatever it is.
Right.
So that even at that point, it's like, maybe we do want specifically a black girl because of this.
Right.
Or we do want a white girl because of this, and that's the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think it's really interesting, you know, even with Elevated Remedies, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we did Elevated Remedies, it was, you know, Paris and I, right? Black dude, white dude. It didn't matter.
It didn't matter at all.
And if at some point you thought it mattered, by the end of it, you realize it didn't matter, and shame on you for thinking it mattered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if at one point you thought and that's what I love most about it with Dre writing that piece so brilliantly. I love that it didn't matter, and it just came down to like, okay, these are the two roles, what fits what actor better, and let's go for it.
I saw no color, and I didn't even know Paris back then. But I just remember seeing the project, and you killed it, and. Both characters were so real. They were so authentic. They had so much need, you know what I'm saying? And you clearly saw the obstacles of what they was going through. But I didn't see no color. And I don't care. You probably could have cast that any kind of way. But I guess that comes down to content. I guess the actual writing.
And then the actor, because we hear about that all the time too, right? Like, actors going in the room and stealing the role, because they're like, you might have something in your head, but it's the actor's job to come in and say like, oh shit, no, that's it.
Right.
And that might be what they were thinking, or there might have been something better.
But that's the argument, Mark, is right there. The argument is, I may be the best person for this job, but for a lot of us, we're not even in that room. You don't even get the opportunity because you already said this person has to be white.
Right.
You know, or
especially if most of the people are. So here's another layer to that is that if people that are getting these opportunities are writing the white roles anyways, and if people think that based on prior statistics that white people sell better worldwide, then we're stuck in a system or a thought process that's saying like, no, well, let's keep it primarily white because we're going to make more money and we're getting an investor into this and we need them to get their 120%. And if they don't get that, we're not going to get a chance to make another film. Yeah. So, all right, maybe we'll get in the game first and then we'll make it more diverse in the you know what I mean? But I think we're slowly getting past that because we've heard that, and I've heard it from black people telling that to me too. Different producers saying like, hey, no, we need, you know, they think that black people or a black lead isn't going to sell. Yeah. So we actually need a white person for this. Yeah. And it's like, and it's sad. And, but then you see films that break those stereotypes. Right. And we're like, no, see, and that's where at that point it's like, listen, if you're good enough and you can, and it doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
And it's happened before. Right. So that should shatter all your prior statistics.
And it's crazy because, I mean, again, when you write something that's dope and something that is good, it surpasses color lines, man. When you have a dope story where the audience can connect viscerally with all of the characters, the story.
The film of the year last year.
What's the Asian movie? No, it's Parasite.
Parasite. It was with a P, right?
Right. Parasite.
It didn't matter.
Right.
Well, I think it was perfectly done. So maybe it did matter that it had to be, but it didn't have to be white to be successful. Is what I'm saying.
I think it deserved that, that acclaim.
1,000,000%.
Because it showed up. I mean, it was beautifully made, beautifully written. The acting was superb. But at that point, that's what the argument comes down to.
So if you can but unfortunately, there's a lot of horrible shit out there. And they have to rely on let's put a white person in the leading role so that we can at least sell and make our money back, even though that's not what it's not Parasite.
Well, I mean, and I think one thing I noticed though, and it's not this crosses past color lines because back when we were cheering, you would have the movies where you have that one star, or you get you might need a supporting role, or you get like another co-star. And that's all you needed to sell a movie. And then, then we started coming up by the time we got to high school and even in the early 2000s, they started making these conglomerate films where you will put 5 stars, 6 stars in these films and to sell these films. And then if now you see how movies go now, it's either a blockbuster or it's, a passion project, or it's an independent film,
a horror,
or a horror film, and it's
was now, especially with the unknown of what's going on with the theaters right now. It's like, okay, our only chance is to sell it to streamings. So if we're selling to a streaming service, let's keep the budget down. Yeah. Or if it's a superhero film, we can go up there. Yeah. And there's still people making some $30 to $50 million films that don't necessarily need to be, and that's why. Part of our stuff at Paris Films is like we want to tell really great character-driven stories that also have commercial appeal and worldwide appeal, but the budget is smaller because we don't need anything more. Give me a room and a camera, we'll make that shit look interesting.
Happen. You know what I mean? But to that myth that black films doesn't go across the pond and go into Asia to go across the world, it's so asinine because. I mean, if you start thinking about, where the black people from diaspora are, I mean, we're everywhere. We're all in Asia. We're not all in Asia. We're all in Europe. Mm-hmm. We're all in Africa. We're all in South America.
And seeing with the Black Lives Matter movement, and you see how hard everybody's going across the water. You know what I mean?
Hip hop is everywhere.
Yeah,
and that is the culture. Like we can't deny that. Like hip hop is the culture, right? And so when you tell me that hip hop ain't gonna sell across over there too, because if hip hop is selling all over there too, you best believe that you got little South Korean boys singing R&B better than some of us.
And now you see apps like TikTok. The hip hop is the number one type of music on there.
So you mean to tell me my movies ain't gonna go over there?
And TikTok is was a Chinese company initially. Now it's across the world, whatever. Yeah. But so unfortunately, that myth or maybe something that was true in the past,
it's not true no more. I mean, I don't even think it was true then because it all comes down to marketing. Let's be real.
For sure,
marketing and access into films. You see that with a lot of the independent films now.
But we weren't, and that's another thing that maybe you can touch on is that before we weren't writing Black individuals in a way, in the right way. Those stereotypical
roles.
Going back to Elevator Remedies, I don't know if I've ever told this story. We're in the liquor store in Detroit. We call it Party Store. Every time I'm in LA, Detroit. I'm like, yo, let's go to the Party Store real quick, and they're like, Party City? I'm like, no, I'm at the liquor store. I don't need a balloon. So we're at the liquor store. And we're setting up and everything, and they're about to close down the liquor store. Dre, Paris, myself, we got the crews doing everything. I'm staying in my zone, real deep, dark film, and trying not to get out of that, right? Because we're about to shoot. White dude walks in, buys something from there. He's like the last customer, and he looks around and goes, "Oh, what are you guys doing? Shooting a film?" I'm like, "Yeah, shooting a film." He's like, "Oh, cool." And he's looking. It's myself, Dre, and Paris. One white dude, two black dudes. And he goes, "Oh, you guys robbing the store in it?" He thought because we're in a liquor store, and based on the casting or people around, robbery, that it must have been. And it's like, and I almost feel bad for him. You know, do you get upset at that? It's like, okay, it's almost like looking back at the past or at even the present and seeing how we are representing black people on these platforms, right? On the television, you tell a vision. I got that from I just watched something recently.
I ain't never heard that one.
Yeah, it was a thing about
in Spanish, like television.
No, like
tell a
vision. Yeah, they were talking about. It's called. It was something my sister sent me on YouTube about how we're brainwashed by the media and all these other different things. Some conspiracy theory things, but also some very like hard hitting stuff. Yeah. And one of them was like, tell a vision. Yeah. Like we're telling you a vision and it's impacting your world and it's impacting those around you and how everybody perceives the world. So for a long time, we've been telling a vision of black people are only drug dealers, this and that, whatever, like what are your core three things that they're casted as. And then, so no wonder we're creating people like this white dude that just is like, oh, this is what he correlates that with. So how did it feel? So you getting into acting and the roles that you were going out for, what was that like? What, or how has it changed at all?
Well,
I know you're creating all your own shit now.
Yeah,
too,
well, shit, that's why it changed. I started creating my own shit. Yeah. But no, you go out for the same stereotypical roles. You're either the thug, the gang member. Even the movie I did was summer before last. What's the movie I did? Dolomite. Yeah. Dolomite. It was. I was a gang member number one.
So it's got to be. How do you feel about playing those roles? I'm sure it's like, yeah, you might take one of those roles and do some dope shit with it, whatever. But it's like if everyone like, we get it.
You know what? It's sad, but opportunities come few and far between. Yeah. And I think we've come even as actors in this industry, you've become it has become so normal to be offered those roles, those stereotypical roles, where you just be like, okay, cool.
And you're putting yourself in a box, or they're putting you in a box.
But guess what though? We even go move into this mindset where, well, shoot, I take these stereotypical roles, and then I get to break out one day, and then I can go and do, you know what I'm saying? So it's almost okay, just perfect that stereotypical role. But it's just all, man.
And I'm sure those stories, like it's something to dive into, and there's some background in it.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, because for me, it's like, okay, like I know people who, okay, I can call if I gotta play a dope boy role, if I gotta play someone who's a jack boy, if I gotta play a gang member, like, I know that world kind of well, so it's like I don't have to dig too deep to go and do that. Yeah. But I mean, on a bigger scope of thing, it's honestly, man, it's just high levels of sophistry. Yeah, like it's I mean, it's brainwashing. It's almost a form of manipulation, saying like, okay, this is what it is. Like it's almost like we're living in the same world, but you see it from the one perspective, and I see it from a totally different perspective. And it's like we're literally sitting here like we are more than this, but you're like, no, this is who you are. This is what you're gonna do, because as we in our world, the stories we're telling, this is what we see you as. And like one thing I like about myself and really embracing the pen is that in my friends and even like a lot of the people that I know, we're creating these. Black people aren't linear. Like we're just not one way. I mean, we come in different shades. We come from different backgrounds. We come from some of us are poor. Some of us are dirt poor. My family was dirt poor. Some of us are middle class. Some of us are rich. Some of us are Caribbean. Some of us are from England and in Europe. Some of us are all over Africa, and that has its own thing. Like, and even here, like so we have so many stories, man. Some of us are Southern. Some of us are from the East Coast. Some of us are Creole, Cajun, and some of us are Haitian. And some of us are educated, and some of us are not. And it's no different from any other color. Like, some of us are skilled labormen. Some of us are criminals. But but in everything though, there's a truth in it. We don't get to explore those.
But yeah, if everything is a criminal, then what are we telling the world? And how are we going to change anything?
And that's why I call it sophistry, because it's like literally when certain parts of the world only see black people through film and television.
Yeah.
So when I'm in China, I'm walking down the street. You never seen a black person before, but the only thing you ever seen of a black person was he was a thief or he was a murderer. What do you think they're going to behave like when they see me?
Yeah.
Because at that point, it's ingrained in them based off of their POV is that this is what they are based off what I know. Because this is all I know.
I've seen this before. I saw that movie like this. Yeah. So we really need to focus on telling the right vision when we're putting it out on these different platforms, and that's what's so. The entertainment business is so interesting right now.
Right, and that's one thing I preach. That's one thing I preach about, with Black and Sexy TV. When I was with them, and working with them was like we was telling, telling stories from the perspective of young adults and young black educated people and uneducated people and and everything in between. And I think so. I'm interested to see moving forward. With this new form of accountability.
Yeah.
I mean, I can be mad and be like, oh, so now but okay, it's here.
We need it to be
here. We need
it
here. So let's go.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we've been seeing, going to Sundance every year is that in the places that we're around most of the time, even with like Macro and what they're doing over there, even with Netflix or Disney Plus, the conversation is all about that. It's all about, widening the playing field and just being able to give everybody opportunity. And now we're not just like, oh my God, it has to, focusing on the numbers. And a lot of these people, these investors are these older guys that are putting the money into it and they still think the same way and they might not write the check or whatever. But now it's like, oh, it's going to streaming. They have, Netflix, I think spent $16 billion this year or something like that on content. So it's like, oh, they are doing a great job of putting more stuff out there and they're going to continue doing that, especially with this movement. And people are starting to see and open their minds and understand that there's a target demo for that.
That's one thing I like about Netflix. I think that I think the industry can really learn from Netflix. Like Netflix. I know a lot of black people who are in important positions over there.
Yeah.
And people of color too. So that's a good thing. And I think that even with Netflix champion Strong Black Leads campaign and even creating content for black people and not just black Americans. Like they have a lot of African content and a lot of and even some Caribbean content as well. So I think that is dope. And Netflix makes TV for everyone. So I like the fact that they really has been ushering that in. I mean, can there be more? It always can be more. But with Netflix, they're doing great. I just want to see the major studios follow that lead because when you go into these pitch meetings, those people do not look like us.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing, man. You just want to. And I'm not saying that. Okay, I'm not a realist at all. I don't know why I'm about to say that. But black people make up 13% of the population. So I understand that. In America, I mean, for us to be represented in every film, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
But for us to be represented in every major company, that might not all the way make sense. But when you telling me that as many black entertainment artists out here, that the people in the front offices or the shot callers, they need to start looking like us. It is no different from basketball, where you have it's a 70% black league, but the coaches represent probably 5 or 6% of that.
Yeah.
And then football, where it's almost a 70-80% black league, where there's only a handful of black coaches and even less in the front office. So with this movement, the main thing we asking for is saying, you know what it is. You see how we impact this thing. You see how we just want to be represented in the same way that y'all celebrate our impact, and in the same way we impact your teams. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And your projects, and to be paid equally, and to be promoted. I mean, just because I know a lot of writers who've been staff writers forever, but they're not showrunners. They don't get to climb that ladder, and go into those big producer rooms and titles. And so we just want to look, black people never we don't want what's not ours. We don't even want you to give us something we have not worked for, because we're used to working twice as hard and still not getting it. We just want an opportunity to get a fair shot to get it. And if I deserve it, you give it to me. And that's that. Period.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really well put. And I think that's where we're on that road right now. So I think with everything else going on too, I mean, within the entertainment industry, we got a lot coming up. It's still uncertain when things are really going back to production and how that's going and all that. So, but I think we have we're aligning properly to start making things happen. I'm excited to get back out there, and I know even within like production, they're saying there's like 3 new COVID roles within when you're doing a film. So budgets are going up a little bit, or this and that, but
COVID roles?
COVID roles, meaning COVID, like positions where people that specialize in whether it's like in temperature or whatever. So your budget's going up however much it costs to have 3 people on deck for each film.
I mean, your budget's going to go up because you have to be able to administer tests.
Right.
So you got to test, temperature, I guess somewhat, not quarantine, but I guess, at the point, I think you probably are going to have to quarantine everyone that's on production, right? I mean,
I don't know. I think the guidelines are coming out and they're changing or whatever. I haven't fully dove in.
How do you feel?
Yet.
Like, with everything going on now, and then, since we're talking about work, and at this point, I know you're just as anxious as I am to actually, to be able to, actually go into rooms and actually be able to film. Like, how do you feel like, so it's been 3 or 4 months now, but do you feel like, how do you handle the uncertainty? Like, or how do you handle the anxiousness of like, you want to get to do something. It's almost like being a kid, right? Who it's raining outside and you can't go outside to play.
Yeah.
And it's been raining for a whole week,
Well, I think luckily I do have a lot of other things that I was low key stoked for some, quarantine time, because
same here.
I was like, fuck, I can finally finish writing some of these pieces that I've been meaning to, that I've been putting off because work's been hectic. We've been out and about pitching different projects, but I have these other ones that are just brewing in my head for years. I can finally work on them and get them out. So this has been wonderful for me. Yeah. But going out, I mean, there is the uncertainty of like, what's going to happen? Could more people get sick and all of that? And I'm not too worried about that. I think I might've mentioned, I just got my antibody test. They were saying that Sundance was one of the first places that got hit by.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So when we went to Sundance this last year, everybody, not even just my crew, whatever, a lot of people left there, and there's been articles that have said that they believe it was one of the first petri dishes for coronavirus. And so Sundance started the same day that Wuhan closed, and when they first went on lockdown.
Okay.
So Wuhan goes on lockdown the same day Sundance starts, but we didn't think it got over to US yet. So everybody went to Sundance. You usually come back like, drinking all day, shaking hands, just beat up. Mm-hmm. You come home and you're usually burned out for a couple of days. But I was sick for weeks and had a cough for a month. And since then had some breathing issues or whatever. I didn't go to the hospital. I think I would have if we would have had cases already here, but nobody thought it was that at the time until after everybody got better. Then they were like, wait a second. So I think, everybody was like talking about how sick they got. Maybe they got it or whatever. So I just went and got a test, for antibody test, which they still don't know. Even if you do have the antibodies saying that you had coronavirus, or COVID-19, whatever. I don't know how the terminology goes specifically, but even if you did have it and you do have the antibodies that would protect you from it, they don't know how long lasting they are and if they will actually protect you from the other different forms of COVID-19. Yeah. So it's like, there's so much uncertainty that it's just like, it's informative if you do know that you have the antibodies, and it's like, yeah, you might be better off, but it might not matter.
So you had antibodies.
So I'm waiting for the test.
Oh, you're waiting for the test?
Yeah, I already took the test. It should be getting the results any day now. So part of me, because I just started going back to the gym this week, right? So
same here.
Yeah, so everybody's you're supposed to wear a mask. Most people are, some people aren't.
Man, look.
Yeah, so it's like, how do you feel about that?
You know how the hell I feel about that. I mean, I was on the stair stepper today, and so a new walk, right? Okay, so I'm pretty much in my own bubble, right?
Yeah. Well, don't they block off the other treadmills?
They do.
Stuff?
No, they do. But the spray and the paper towels were not too far from me, and the dude walked without no mask on over there, and he was just breathing, and I'm just like,
stop breathing.
I'm in the middle of cardio.
See, I prefer wearing a mask, working out, it almost makes you feel like, because it's restricting your breathing a little bit, but it makes you fight more. It almost is a better workout.
No.
It's like wearing one of those real masks that are supposed to restrict
you.
It's
I mean, look, man, I go in the morning. I go early in the morning. I ain't trying to catch no corona. But
and they've restricted it, so even we can look back on this in 50 years when we're like, I remember back in my day.
Right.
But yeah, they have. So they can only, I think, allow 160 people in my gym, and you have to sign up the day before, and then you go in, and you have to show that you have like the hands-free sign in or whatever.
But you only got an hour, right?
Only get an hour, and then they clean everything in between.
Well, see. So I have a membership over at 24 too. So but they were doing that. That's not gonna work for me because I got to do at least an hour and a half cardio. Yeah.
It feels good for me because I'm like, I get in and get out, and like I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm like,
see,
I'm also just getting right back into it after not being in there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I need to just ease into it to a certain extent.
See, I'm trying to go full go because like for me, I'm at my best when I can just go and just do my hour and a half of cardio.
Yeah.
For me, I work through everything. I listen to my audiobooks, man. It helps my process out greatly. So, but no, man. I'm thinking over here like, bro, why can't you be like the chicken pops? Man, you catch that thing, you got your antibodies, you ain't catching it no more.
Yeah.
Rare cases catch it too. So the fact that you can might be strand on top of strand, like, oh, this thing is really intelligent. Like, bro, stop complimenting the damn disease.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing I know a lot of people are worried about. If you are too worried about it and you are masking and your body doesn't have the natural ability to fight it, because when you're stressed out about something or you're worried about something, your body doesn't fight it off as well. So I'm literally like clear-minded, like, nah, I'm fine. Let me get this. I'm not afraid of this shit. Like, whatever. I know that, but maybe that's not the best mentality, but I think to not get it to affect me, but also not passing it on to somebody that.
Yeah, of course. And that's my main fear. I don't want to be asymptomatic and passing it on. But for me, I just really focus on just keeping my immune system strong, man. So I'm over here elderberry down, my turmeric, and with the pepper, because you gotta have a little pepper for the turmeric to be able to digest, right? My ginger, my zinc. Like, I'm over here, I'm eating my juices. So I mean, I have a really good immune system, and not to say that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's impeccable, impenetrable. But at the same time, I feel like, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to brave it the best of the way I know how. But at the same time, with being smart and not, putting myself in harm's way. I mean, I'm, washing my hands. I've always washed my hands. I don't know why that's a new phenomenon. But I've always washed my hands. I disinfect everything regularly. But I just been really just kind of more anal about it, just making sure I keep everything else clean too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. So it's interesting time.
I don't even know how we.
I don't
know if I answered your last question or not.
I don't even know either, man. But it just took us on the
playing
road.
In the rain. I'm like, even if it's raining outside, I still got something I can do. I'm fine on that tip. I am looking forward to getting out there and making more magic.
Same here, man. But you know what? One thing is interesting that I'm starting to notice. Well, even being in pitch meetings, they are asking like, so. With today's times, so is, how much is that going to be? Or how much is COVID going to be and all that? And I'm like, I think it's going to be a lot. I think it's going to be like remember back when 9/11 happened, when you start seeing shows that mention that and kind of show that, or like when Vietnam, so I think it's gonna be like you'll see your few shows that has a lot of this time period in it.
Yeah, I had the show that I'm currently writing. Before this all happened, there was an element to it that allowed this thing that these people had was able to spread, and it was highly contagious. And I was like, well, shit, let me take that out. That seems like I'm just writing it because of this. Let me
I mean, look, again, I don't know how long we're going to be here, but as long as we are here, I'm going to maximize this time. It's crazy. We just all off topic, but I remember this conversation that we had a long time ago. Maybe this conversation, maybe 3-4 years ago. But we had the conversation. You were talking about, you were having this self-realization moment where you was like, we all say we work hard, but are we really working every single day? Like, are you showing up every single day? And once you show up, are you doing the work every single day? And from that conversation, man, and ever since then, like, I mean, you have those moments when you work through stuff, and and some days are better than others. But I make it a point to show up and work every single day. Yeah. And if I have an opportunity like this, which is a perfect moment in time, where, I mean, not perfect as far as circumstance, but perfect as in having the time and the ability to be able to focus on our stories, or getting our stories out and perfecting our craft. So I have literally taken advantage of this, and a lot of people that I know, and I think that for a lot of us who did, we'll see a lot of fruits come from it. And this is no judgment to the people who who hasn't been able to be as productive or as efficient during this time, because we all different. But
I think if you weren't figure out why.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people that I think if it was like a money situation, I know that hit a lot of people, but I think one thing, going back to you saying about are you showing up, are you working, like, that was the biggest thing for me. It was like, wait, this is how much work you actually have to put in if you want to be in this profession. So understand what profession you're in, and if that's the profession you're in, understand the amount of hard work that's going to take, and then realize you're probably wrong about that. Because that's when I had that realization. For me, it was like, I've been going, like, relationships have suffered because of that,
bruh.
my bank account suffered because of that. You know what I mean? So like,
bruh.
So, but at the end of the day, it's building for doing it actually what it's actually going to take to get you where you want to go.
Absolutely.
But and if you want more of a work-life balance in your early years, whatever, then cool. I would just pick a different profession.
Absolutely.
Entertainment, probably not it for you, because it's sucks,
bro.
A lot of the time it sucks, but it's worth it. You gotta love it. You have to love it, and you gotta be willing to work hard. Otherwise, you can't complain. Mark.
It's ASMR moment. Mark, you're speaking. No, on some real shit though. People you have to count the cost, right? I did not know that it was going to require this much from me, yet and still in this moment in time, like even across the whole journey, I did not know it was going to require this much effort, this much fortitude, this much.
Wait, how old were you when you got here?
20. I was 22. I was turning 23 when I came out here.
And you knew you wanted to get into acting, into filmmaking?
I was 22. I knew that was the main reason why I moved out here.
So, how quick did you think you were about to make it though?
Man, I was going to have a house in the hills by 25.
Oh my God. Why did we do that?
2-3 years. Mark, this.
It's a life
game. The moments where I've been homeless, where I didn't know where I was going to eat. There's been moments I did not know where I was going to eat. And the moments when I didn't know how I was going to pay anything, or I was going to pay my bills, or how I was going to make it. Just the idea of having my own apartment seems so unfathomable, right? But just to hone in on the point about the work. But these are real things we have to worry about, all while showing up to do the work, right? And I mean, I've been like the sacrifices, like people don't understand sometimes. I mean, I've had relationships suffer. I made bad relationship decisions on projects in the midst of of shooting projects. You know what I'm saying? Taking a trip to Mexico is not the best thing. Look, Mark, don't judge me. But is this a safe space? Is this a safe space?
No, fuck that. What are you thinking? No, but that's the thing. So I know now that seems crazy to me. And it makes me say, like, because you don't want it. You don't want it bad enough, right? That's what I say. And a lot of it comes from like the Gary Vee mentality of like him saying about like, if you're going to Coachella, you have time to go to Coachella, but that's 10 hours a day. That's 3 days. That's 30 hours you could have put in, finish this.
Right.
And like, and that really, it creeped into me in a way that's probably for other people and maybe myself, a little bit unhealthy.
Yeah.
But
I don't care. No.
I love it.
I don't care. Fuck that. On some real shit. And I'll be real with you. So what? It's unhealthy. I mean, it's unhealthy. But I rather know that I gave it 100% every day and I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? I can live with that.
I can die with that.
I can die with that. I have no problem with that. So people talk about me all the time. It's like, oh, Darryl, like you have to write today. So you have to, yes, I have to write today. Like, it's not even a question. I show up every fucking day. This is what I do. Like,
and it's what I do right now.
Right now, yeah.
Because eventually I would like to have some kind of balance or go on trips. Trips are not bad. And seeing the world and developing.
Mark, you think I don't want to go to Santorini, goddammit? Man. You think I don't want to go to San Tropez? You think I don't want to be kicking on the motherfucking white sand in Jamaica?
I just can't right now.
I can't right now. Why? Because I have to get my dreams out. I have to get these stories out. And the only way they're going to get out is, guess what? If I show up every goddamn day.
And guess what? If you don't and you go on the trips, what's going to happen in 5 years when like, man, you still the acting dream? I will never hear those words. So that's that flip of that. If it's like, I would rather get yelled at or be on. I remember seeing certain relationships and stuff. Be like, all you do is sit at the desk. Like, you don't do anything. You don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Even in my head, I'm everywhere.
All right. I'm everywhere.
And I see things happening around me, and I'm like, no, everything is going exactly how I've envisioned it. And based on the hard work that I've been doing this for 5 years, and shit's just starting to happen. Yeah. 5 years of going hard.
Same.
Coming from going to my 0 point or negative point, and then rising through. Mm-hmm. And I'm finally seeing it. So I cannot let anybody change that. Whether it's my mother saying like, "Come on, you needed this," and it's of course her saying that because she wants me to be happy. But now if she doesn't say stuff like that anymore, she understands like, oh,
my mama completely gets it now.
Yeah,
and see, but
she didn't before.
No, man, my mama used to be like, anytime I got to any moment of hardship or any moment that it looks like I wasn't gonna make it. Again, I love my family, man, but we have a lot of like that second generation slave mentality. So, so how you gonna make it, Darryl? What you gonna do? Mm-hmm. I don't know, Darryl. You need to come home. And that's we call that border bullies, right? And they love you, and out of that love, they want to protect you. But man, it's Mark.
Yeah, I get stuff like that too.
I had those moments, man. But I have always, since I was a kid, I'm a pit bull when it comes to my dreams. If I'm saying I'm going to do something, I do it. Yeah. And my mama knows that about me. My family knows that about me. You can't talk Darryl out of not doing something. But I have adopted this maniacally obsessive mentality when it comes to my dreams or to my projects. Like, I am so locked in, right? And there has been moments like my homegirl, like, hey, Darryl, I'm still let's go to Miami. I got the ticket, whatever. I still got 2 other projects I gotta write.
Yeah.
And one can argue that balance is important, and you need to have that, to be healthy.
Yeah. But, or even experiences to help your work.
Help your work, right? But at the same time, it's like, but that weekend I took out there is detracting from this my work, right? And people are not going to understand that. And I'd much rather make the sacrifices financially, physically, mentally, relationally now to live on the other side. Well, Muhammad Ali has a quote that says, what it says, suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. I can live as a champion if I sacrifice everything I need to do now. And this is the thing, Mark. I'm pretty sure the next year or two, we gonna be like, hey, man, meet me at Park City. We gonna do this. All right, I gotta do this event. You gonna come down here for this, or we going to Compass Con? Or I'm on at 2:00. Well, I'm at 4. Bet I'm there. So
and let's just go to Bali for the next month and just write.
Right, you know,
at that point. But right now it's just it's but that's the thing is loving this stuff.
But our generation don't know, Mark. I mean, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I don't think our generation understands how hard you have to go for something, because we have such a popcorn mentality, such a I want it now mentality. Oh, all I gotta do is get 1 million followers on Instagram doing some silly shit, and now I'm on. You know, and there's no knock to them people, because hey, it's actually a talent to be able to amass that many followers. You know, but for what I want to do, and for my dream, and for the type of the fulfillment that I'm looking for, it's gonna take everything that I got, man. Mm-hmm. And so I thank God for my tribe for being supportive, but people don't get it, right? And sometimes when you want to do something great, it requires that, man. All the great ones do. Like, so you have to ask yourself, what's more important? Because to be honest with you, like, of course I want to be married. Of course I want to have a family. And of course I want to, be able to see my family on a regular. But I would be, if I got all those things right now and was not able to fulfill my dream or fulfill this beckoning call that has been calling me since I was 5 years old, watching Coming to America and watching Eddie Murphy do his thing, right? That's the moment when I knew that, oh, I want to do that, mama. So that thing has been calling me ever since then. And I actually got to do a movie with Eddie Murphy. You know what I'm saying? Which is dope. It's 2 scenes with him. It was everything, right? But I say all that to say, like, that's what drives me, right? Mm-hmm. So everything else kind of don't matter.
Especially when working this hard at something you love doesn't feel like work. Sometimes it gets really rough, or it's troubling, or it's trying and this and that. But when you actually love what you're doing, it doesn't feel like work at all. It feels like what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. It feels like alignment. It feels like, and
I feel so happy I know it now.
Yeah,
because 20-year-old Mark didn't know that, and he thought he was just gonna come here. He had a cool look. He was this, that. He's gonna, you know what I mean?
Lady told me in Atlanta that I look commercial. I said I have a commercial look.
Yeah,
I have a look.
Somebody, come on.
Hey, come on.
And you got I came here, I was very hard headed. I thought, I was trying to prove a lot of people wrong, mm-hmm. but back there, I got that chip on my shoulder, got here, and then just was, turned 21 out here, was in the club, was just like, but also I'm also grateful for living my 20s to the max, so I could use that experience within it and have the people that I met and the family I created out here. Mm-hmm. But do I wish that I would have learned a little sooner that the amount of hard work it actually takes to make it in this industry, or making it to do what I want to do?
You know what's crazy? And this is me being candid, right? I remember I was at West LA College, and I went there because I got my daddy was in the military, so I would get checks just to go to school. Mm-hmm. I milked that thing, boy. I milked that thing the long way. But so one semester they cut all my classes. And all they had was like writing for film and television, script development, TV development, and like all these different writing classes, right? Characters building, all these different things. And I said, "Fuck it, I'm just going." That's what I moved out here for, right? And so I was in one of these classes. I won this contest. It was Evan something. I forgot Evan's last name, but he wrote Lost Boys 3. And he got a contest to who can write the best treatment, and then whoever won it would get the pitch Paramount. So I won it. And, but I, at the time, the abuse that I've been through, my self-worth issues, the things I didn't really believe in myself enough to know that I was more than capable to do it. So I had a glimpse of it, but I didn't necessarily know how to I had an opportunity, but I can sustain the opportunity.
Well, yeah, and to know what you need or actually perfect your ability to have to know what to say or how to package it properly or know how to go in there confidently. It's hard to even have a conversation with somebody on the phone for the first time when you're just getting in the game. But once you fail enough times or you enough, you eventually start having some good ones. It's tough. It's all about building. So that was, how early was that in?
Oh man, that was like 20. I was 24-ish.
Yeah, so you were making some nice strides.
Yeah, man. I get a little emotional about it because it's like, I mean, so you think you're ready, right? And you think you have it, but just think if young Mark, let's say Mark at 25 would have just been on and popping.
I'm so glad it didn't happen. It would be over already. And I'd be lost. I would. I mean, you see people like, even young stars or whatever. It's like, I thought, I said, give me 3 years. If I don't get it in 3 years, I didn't try hard enough. Then 5 years passes. You're like, oh shit. Like, okay. I kind of have an agent,
right?
But eventually, but you learn. But the quicker you can learn by putting in the massive amounts of hard work it's going to take, it's like, man, no matter what you're doing, if it's something that's your own or, whether it's a business or it's acting or whatever it is, if you love it that much, you can go in all day. That's why it's so important to love what you do, to be able to put in the amount of hours to actually make it in this. How many people move here and then leave?
Man, look, I know people who left the first year, but then I know even more who moved and came back and then dipped out again.
Yeah, because
it's crazy because I remember my one of my childhood friends, TJ, man. TJ like my brother. Known him man since I was 5. He told me like, Darryl. Darryl, so you moving to LA? You acting now? Just know it's gonna take you. You're gonna be in your 30s till you get on. He told me this when I was 23.
And you were like, fuck you.
TJ was like 26 at the time.
Did you take it to heart or were you just like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about?
You don't know what you're talking about. And technically he's a genius. Like he's a genius.
He was right. he knew. Like, well, that's what I think I heard before in the past that like it takes 10 years to become an overnight success.
Right.
But it takes 10 years to become an overnight success if you work 12 to 15 hours a day.
Right.
Otherwise, it might take longer.
Right. Who you telling?
Right, but that's why now it's like putting every single second into it matters, and then knowing myself.
Yeah.
Knowing yourself and saying like, no, this is what I want to do. This is what I know it takes, and I'm willing to do it to get me where I want to go because it's going to get there faster.
Man, once I ain't gonna say I figured myself out, but I'm still figuring myself out.
Yeah.
But that once I started getting this awareness about myself, like, okay, I started learning my patterns, and so you take in the information for the data is from your friends, what their friends say about me, and they keep my friends are really good about holding me accountable, and I really don't look for validation like that with them, but they do keep me accountable. So I take in that accountability, I take in my fruits at that point, and then I also take in like, being real with myself. And I started realizing, at that time, I realized that I wasn't putting forth enough effort based off of the fruit from my labor, and also just looking at the numbers, right? And then so I started factoring in like, what I'm spending my time on. And once I started learning my thought process, and a lot of my the stronghold on me was not having high enough self-worth, not believing I was worthy, right? And so once I honed in on that thing, because I've always known I was talented, I always knew that I like the way that I think. I have a very unique perspective.
You have a commercial look.
I have a very commercial look. God damn it. I pull them pictures out right now on you, boy. It was commercial it was...
You had the ad pictures too?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I got one. It's on Facebook. Oh, shit.
Gotta take that down.
Hey, man, hold up now. I'm looking good. They gonna know. They need to know. I've always had it now. But no, so once I honed in, like, I think for every creative, and it's funny, I don't know how this conversation got here, but for every creative and every actor, writer, singer, producer, musician, I can go all day. I'm sorry, I'm leaving some out. Painters, visual artists, but once you realize you're worthy, because a lot of us come from broken homes, a lot of pain, just in relationships with in family. We deal with a lot of anxiety or just, a lot of, second guessing yourself. But for me, once I realized that I was worthy, once I started really doing the work on healing a lot of my childhood traumas, and once I really started to spend time with myself and not band-aiding it with distractions with people or girlfriends or going out, video games, football, whatever, because we use everything to cope. It's escapism at its core. But once I really started delving off and understanding what made me tick, or what are my strong suits, or what things I need to work on, and then coupling that with the healing, I became empowered, man. And then it really made me become a superhero to myself. Like the little boy in me had started, getting because I do a lot of reparenting work, and he really started to grow. And in certain areas wherever that wound happens, you're stuck at that age.
Right.
That age. So that abandonment wound might be 8. Or, that time when the coach took you out the game, and you wanted to be in the,
still that shit.
Like, those are real moments, but you're still at the age, so you really have to heal those exact moments, because they create so much behavior from those moments that aren't always, that still hamper you. They create these patterns that you continue to do to self-sabotage or to keep you from winning. Yeah. So, yeah, man. That gets all deep, but yeah. So when I honed on those things and I really started loving on myself, and then I started like, damn, I'm good at this shit. Like, I can do this shit. And okay, here you go, read it. And then you're like, damn, this is really good. Even like, you just saying that. Like, no, this shit is dope. And then it comes from like friends who are like my friend Yantha, who is she reads all of our friends' stuff, and then like Paige, who reads a lot of my stuff, and get on my head because I don't do outlines like I'm supposed to all the time.
Put in the extra work,
man, she got me doing outlines now. I did outline for this last project, but it ain't making no difference. But anyway, but no. So
just being thorough and yeah.
But that's another thing is like, and also like I think you probably like a lot like me, where you feel like I ain't gotta do all that. I'm special.
Yeah, I do more now.
I definitely do. No, now I do.
Now I'm like, I know I need to take these extra steps to really create these characters, so then they'll feel 3D and I'll know who they are and how they behave. Yeah. But so yeah, doing the work is never. I mean, but in my earlier days,
that's my back in the day.
Oh yeah. I would be like, oh yeah, I think I would like find somebody that I knew that's similar to that person, and then like write it about that person. Like that'd be enough. Yeah. Like, man, you don't even know that person that you're writing about as much as you need to know the person you're writing about.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
But yeah, so I think this is like I feel very fortunate to be able to have figured out myself to where I am now, as I continue to figure out who I will be in the future. Absolutely. And figure things out. But yes.
And we're all growing, and this is the thing. I mean, and I'm still figuring shit out about myself. Like I'm still learning me, and there's the things I'm still working to heal, and these are the things I'm still working, patterns that I'm still working to break. Like, so I mean, we're nothing but onions, man. There's so many different layers. We continue to peel. Once you think you've achieved complete mastery of yourself, there's just a whole nother level, more dimensions, more idiosyncrasies that we don't know anything about. But all these things encompass and make up our being, right? And they affect us in every area, especially in our art, like it says art and
I think and now that we I think the great thing is that what you're talking about is like wanting to figure that stuff out and wanting to continue to figure that out. Yeah. So I think that's really, really dope. So I think we're getting close to battery dying. So so we'll shut this down, but make sure you guys comment, share, subscribe on everything. We got more coming your way soon. Thanks, my man. Indeed. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.